Welcome to this episode of Harvey County Talk. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley. Our guest on the program today is Larry L.A. Alexander, who is the director of the Community Chaplain Response Team for Harvey County. How are you doing today, Larry?
Lance, I'm doing wonderful.
All right. Would you prefer L.A. or would you prefer Larry?
You know what? L.A. That's what most people
LA.
call me anymore.
Okay.
I haven't went by Larry in 20 years.
Okay, so L.A. I apologize for that
No,
in
that's
advance.
good.
But as everybody knows, Harvey County Talk really respects our law enforcement in Harvey County, really respects everything that our law enforcement does. But also there's another piece to that component that maybe some of you are not aware of, which is that we have a community chaplain response team, which I'll let LA talk a little bit about that more. But it has to do with law enforcement, but also with the community. So, I just want to say once again, I appreciate you coming on the program, LA, and giving us your time and being able to just talk to the community about what you do and who you are and why you do it. And like in any situation or anybody that watches the program, you know that I always start off with, where were you born? Where do you hail from? Where'd you go to school?
Yeah.
Give me a little bit about who is LA.
You bet. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to come on and just share a little time with you. Yeah. But I'm originally from Republic, Missouri, which is just about 15 miles southwest of Springfield, Missouri. Okay. And so I have a wonderful mother. I have an older brother, sister, and of course I'm identical twin. Oh. So that was fun growing up. That was a blast.
Did you feel his pain
yes,
at the time?
Actually,
it's like, why does my knee hurt?
Yeah.
Oh, my brother just did something.
Yes, I will tell you. I think the best is when the girlfriends would get mixed up.
Yeah. I'm
like, rock on. Because we had totally two different tastes in women, so you got to have fun. I'm sorry. Yeah. I went through Republic High School, and from there, I went to Drury University to get my law enforcement credentials, and first place I started out at was Greene County Sheriff's Office. Okay. In the jail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a good gig. I mean, it challenged me, and it really brought me to a different place once I got out there beyond the jail.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a question. I want to back you up.
Yep.
Usually I just try to ask, like, what were kind of your extracurricular activities in high school, and then lead that into why. I mean, you're a pretty big guy, LA. I mean, you could be like a linebacker.
Yeah. Well, I didn't used to be.
Okay.
I mean, I was 175 pounds soaking wet when I graduated high school.
Yeah, but you're tall. So you could have been a wide receiver.
I did try for wide receiver, but a telephone made that decision for me.
Okay, so what's something that you really enjoyed doing in high school?
Honestly, we really leaned. My whole family were martial artists.
Okay.
So we really just trained in martial arts.
Okay.
Everything from Kempo Karate to Taekwondo to Kung Fu. So even my cousins in Wichita were very heavy into that as well.
Very
so
cool. Yeah, that's a sport in and of itself, man.
Isn't it though? I
mean, it is, and it's an all year long sport.
It is.
I mean, I'll say, having done martial arts myself, that is a sport that requires quite a bit of training, quite a bit of consistency. It's one of those things where you have to keep taking steps forward, or you're going to take 3 steps back. So you it's inching it at a time. Just keep going forward and keep building on it. But the minute that you stop doing it, let's say to take time off to do another sport or something, then you're going to go 3, 5, 7 steps back.
Absolutely.
And have to inch yourself back to that place to move forward again.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly how it goes.
Yeah. So what did you like about the martial arts?
The biggest thing is just being able to tell people fighting is not cool.
Yeah.
We were taught not to fight, and just to, talk your way through it. Yeah. And, at the last resort, then, if you had to use what you were being trained in, that was fine.
Yeah.
But realistically, it was just about that very structured
discipline.
Yeah. And my mom and my dad both were just phenomenal parents. So I had great teachers.
Yeah, yeah. And then another thing, as far as just martial arts, because I'm interested in that, because we have parallel lives with that. Do you feel like because you took martial arts that built in you a self-confidence and a self-awareness to be able to have more capacity to have confidence in the knowledge that you didn't have to make rash decisions, like your manhood wasn't at stake, or that self-confidence and that self-assurance that you're able to defend yourself adequately, that deterred you from maybe doing something that was not in your best interest or the other person's best interest?
Oh, absolutely. I think, anytime you put something like martial arts in your life, it's structured. It's a way to you said it, to boost that confidence.
Yeah.
And as a young man, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence. I was really down on myself, and for different reasons. But as I grew older, doing martial arts more and more and more, I became more confident about just everything I did. Now, there were still areas that I had to, push forward harder on.
Yeah.
But other than that, it prepared me for what I was going to do later on in my career.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So, you said that you went to college, and then did you know when you went to college that you wanted to be in law enforcement?
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to be a law enforcement officer since I was a little boy.
Okay.
That was my dream. I had some really good police officers that were from my hometown. And because of their love and their passion, they were not the kind of officers that just put a thumb on you every time, you turned around. These were the officers that communicated with kids on their level.
Yeah.
And, man, I'll never forget them as long as I live. I still know their names. And I think that they had a lot to do with me even going further into my career. I mean, if it wasn't for those two, man, they were just amazing. I said, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them.
Right. And then there's something with that, and I can feel that they took it upon themselves in their official capacity and duty to be a positive male role model.
Yes.
And then you felt that, and therefore then you wanted to reciprocate that, or you wanted to follow in their footsteps. Like, I can do this.
Absolutely.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, and they never, they always were so. They just kept you grounded. And even if there was times that Gary and I, of course, my whole family's a little ornery.
Yeah.
So
Let's have fun.
Yeah. But as Gary and I continue to grow up, I mean, they really allowed us to be teenagers, and stuff like that. And I think that's huge. One of them, when I graduated the law enforcement, I got with him, and I got to, get his weapon that he carried for many years. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. That's an interesting, impactful statement that you just said.
Yeah.
That not only were they a role model, but then they supported you and your endeavor to follow in their footsteps.
Yes.
Yeah. So you went to college for law enforcement.
Yep.
And then did you just stay there in the great state of Missouri to start your law enforcement career?
The first 20 years I was there. I started off with the sheriff's office, worked at the jail division. I also was also on the SWAT team.
Okay.
I did that for about 6.5 years.
Okay.
So that was exciting for me. And then I left the sheriff's office for about a year and a half. And I took another position as a school resource officer for the Springfield Public Schools.
Okay.
And had a wonderful mentor. The boss, both bosses, in fact, were very, very good to me. So, it just led to positive growth, and helping people to understand that, hey, we're not all bad guys.
Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being in a position of authority. But something that I'm interested in that I just want you to unpack a little bit more is you just skipped over the fact that you spent 20 years I mean, you literally spent 20 years in law enforcement. So you spent a portion of that in as a detention deputy.
Yep.
You probably got to see people in some of the most difficult situations.
Yeah. So after the detention and then the SRO, I came back to the sheriff's office where I became a victim witness officer, assigned to the detective division. And our job was to go out and communicate with the victims and see if they had remembered anything since the initial response of our patrol division. So I would go out and meet with these citizens and learned so much from them. And they were very pleased that they had a deputy follow up after the initial call of the service. So that was huge. I spent 20 years in Missouri and 10 years, actually a little over 10 years full time. I did 2 years as a reserve, a total of 32 years.
32 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So something I always like to ask, because I think I have a lot of intrigue when it comes to law enforcement, as far as the day to day, it's, I'll tell you, there are so many people in the community, our community, that just love on and really appreciate all of our officers, all of our sheriff's deputies, and just law enforcement as a whole, because of the type of job that it is. I mean, you get to meet people in their worst day or possibly their best day, and all the same. The desire is there, and I can tell from what you're saying is that you really just wanted to serve and help people.
Yeah, my motto is truly, I would love to say that I made it, but I did not. But it is, you serve your community and you serve them well, then the community protects itself.
Yeah.
They start reporting things a little bit more. They start, helping you in areas of investigation because they saw that you're serving them, that you are not afraid to change a flat tire, that you're out there at sometimes, 1 o'clock in the morning because of a bump in the night. Yeah. And so I learned very early on, if we serve, because that's what it is, serve and protect. Yeah. And through that service, what was exciting for me is watching those citizens then begin to protect their community. They would report things more. They would call me, even if it seemed like to them very minuscule. How do you say that word?
Minuscule.
There you go.
Yeah,
thank you. Not all of us are bright.
Yeah, right. Just because I knew the answer doesn't make me bright.
But, it just developed a relationship that, most police officers or chiefs don't get the opportunity to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I always do the two-sided coin here. Just looking back over all those years, what was maybe one situation that took place that you can look back on and go, you know what, I really feel that I made the greatest impact, or you have the best feel-good feeling, I guess would be a lack of a way of explaining that. Just give me one.
Yeah, you bet. I had the opportunity to be a part of what I would call a gang intelligence unit. And so it was made up of a patrol officer, dare officer, correctional, and detective division. And but in the process of that, working and training to learn more about gangs, I had the opportunity to work with the dare officer, and he and I developed a ministry called Life Choice Ministry. And with that, we worked with gang members and drug dealers and prostitutes and runaways, and helping them get their lives back, in other words, helping them to get back where they really wanted to be. But because of the lifestyle, it drew them in. Yeah. And so me and the dare officer, we formed a board. We had our non-for-profit, and Life Choice Ministry was out there. And what was unique about that is, Lance, if I may, a lot of the people that we dealt with, they trusted us because we had built up a respect with them first as a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
And it was such an amazing moment in that 10-year span of working with the type of citizens that a lot of people wanted to look down on.
Yeah.
But like in anything, everybody wants love, everybody wants acceptance, everybody wants to be acknowledged in one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because those are usually the three key areas that draw people that are not getting those things in their home life for whatever the purpose may be, and most oftentimes completely out of their control, that then they go and they find that artificial love, acceptance, where in a gang. I mean,
Yes.
that's what draws a lot of youth in that direction. Not to say that all of them come from some kind of a home that's less than what they would desire, but are totally out of their control. Just, it's very interesting that you hit on those three key areas, because that is the three key areas that if those areas are not being met in the home, then they go out at a certain age to try to find that, and therefore then they find that in an artificial way because they don't know the real love, acceptance.
Exactly. You know, what was really unique is that after working with that I guess group of people, I was awarded the very prestigious Woodward Law Enforcement Award, and it's basically called the hero for the day. And so we were invited, me and my family, along with the gang member that recommended me to be to receive the hero award. And that was really something for me that it was humbling. Because even though I was working hard with these folks, and but my wife at the time, my son at the time, it was really fun because my son would stand on the street corner, Lance, and passing out Bibles to the gang members as they're passing by our building. And so it really developed in him that service as well.
Yeah.
So
Love everybody.
Yeah.
Got to love people where they're at.
you do.
You know,
You really
yeah.
do. You can't take that for granted.
And
at
is
all.
love really love unless there's action behind it, LA?
Oh, I think that's an excellent thing. I think if you don't have action behind it, then
words.
it is words.
Yep.
But when you have that agape love, watch out.
Yeah. Somebody that will bend over backwards to
Yeah.
try to show love to somebody else. And ultimately, I mean, we're talking Christ love, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. The flip side of the coin.
Okay.
And I don't want to, go into anything where that you don't feel comfortable.
Sure.
But was there ever a situation or a time in your career in which it impacted you so greatly? I'm not going to say negatively, but impacted you so greatly where you looked up and said, "Man, I don't know. I don't know if this is the job that I want to be doing."
I think there were several times throughout my career I just wanted to, I was blessed because every goal that I set in law enforcement, I reached. So that's, for me, that was the exciting part. But there were times where I felt maybe forgetting about being an administrator and stepping back down into an officer role. And for me, that was in Topeka. I went from being a chief to just a school resource officer, and that brought me back to my roots. It brought me back to where I can realize you can have fun. But before then, it was just getting to the point where you just felt like, man, I put on the uniform, I go in every day. But the city I served was a great city. I had a lot of citizens that loved on me throughout those 4.5 years there. But when I left, it was those kids, working with those at-risk kids, that really made my heart shine again. Yeah. It really did.
Yeah, that speaks volumes. I hear you saying that throughout, well, not much of, but a good portion of your career, it was focused on the youth. Do you honestly, LA, I mean, do you find yourself as someone who really holds dear the belief that if we get them young and we try to minister to them, or we try to do effective proactive policing, that we're changing the future of our community, our state, and our nation?
Lance, absolutely. And I think that you hit it on the nail, hit it on the head, if you will. It's those the children. You don't know what their lives are coming from. You don't know what problems that they're struggling with. But a lot of the kids that I worked with, they only had, either a mother. And if they didn't have a mother, they had a grandmother. Or the father may be the only one that was in their lives. So yeah, it gave us the opportunity to really help show the kids the true love of Christ, but it also showed them that you can be in a professional field and feel proud about what you do. And I very much loved law enforcement. So I had about I'm not exaggerating, I probably had 20 kids over my course of years being working in the school that became police officers.
Really? Yeah.
So wow, what a legacy that was.
Yeah, and then when you talk about the potential that some of these were troubled kids, they chose a different path. But not only that, but they chose the path of mentorship that you provided, that was taught to you from those that provided it to you, right?
Yeah, almost 20 years prior. That's exactly right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, LA.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's what you said was impactful to me just now.
Thank you so much.
My own life experience dictates that to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, Lance, that the more we pour love into people, the better they become. Yeah. I think today, and we're not going to get into politics.
Yeah, no,
but with all, with all the things going on in our country today, we'll just say for the last decade, just the decade alone, the one thing that keeps coming back is the same thing that I did over 20 years ago, and that's to love people for where they are.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, that's what I want. Even as a law enforcement officer, I wanted to love them for where they are. Because you don't know, you're not there in their house 24 hours a day. You have a very short amount of time to have an impact on a marriage when you go on a call on a domestic or on a runaway, And so you really take those moments and you do your best to make them a diamond moment.
Yeah. Especially when they're at their worst point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. So I got to know, we're talking a lot of Missouri. I heard Topeka in there, which we all know is Kansas, but just kind of, how did you find yourself in Harvey County?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, from Topeka, I was, I just felt that, there was, God leading me back into the Chiefs world. And man, much prayer, much direction, obviously much support of the wife, because the wife is, you got to have your helpmate, on board with you,
especially in that job.
Yeah. So, but God, I applied for the city of Sedgwick, and it was between me and another officer, and that now officer is Under Sheriff Sean Chaplain.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Sean, it will always be my dearest friend.
Yeah, that's cool.
He is just a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And so he really didn't want it. So the next person in line was me.
Yeah.
And I loved it for 4.5 years, and the community was great.
Yeah.
But I also knew, unfortunately, there was times that I needed to move on, but I was just too stubborn.
Yeah. Because you like policing.
Yeah.
I did interview Sean Chapman, Under Sheriff Sean Chapman, on the program here before.
Right.
Yeah, and I got to know him, and really, we're very fortunate, that let's say things worked out the way they did, because we never know whether a loss or a gain or one person getting chose or one person, you know, that in my personal opinion, God's involved in all that.
Yes.
So, you know, if things would have gone any different in anybody's lives, then LA would not have been the chief over there in Sedgwick doing what he was doing over there. And Sean might have never actually become our undersheriff, which is a wonderful thing all the way around.
It is. It really is. You know, I have high respects for Chad Gay, the sheriff. And in fact, I just had a recent conversation with Sheriff Gay, and I said, you know, I never want to do anything to embarrass you or the undersheriff or my captain. I said, you know, so I try very hard to, you know, think things through and talk to my mentors who have surrounded me. And hopefully with that, I make good, sound decisions and that they turn out great. Well,
and Sedgwick is a rather small town. You're looking at about what, less than 1,000 people at least.
No, it's actually about 1,800.
Is it? Okay, so it's bigger than what I thought.
Yeah, it's about 1,800.
Sorry, Sedgwick.
I
made you smaller than what you were.
You know, and that was a trying time. You know, I went through 3 or 4 different mayors. I went through 3 or 4 different city administrators, and but you know what? I will tell you, they took care of me. Though we didn't leave on the best of terms, I will tell you, Brian Chaplain, the mayor, golden. Golden. And I learned more through him than I think I learned through anybody else in the whole city. And so my props goes off to Mayor Chapman.
And I met him one time. I would say he is a wonderful human being and what I would define as a good old boy. In the most positive way, right? We hear the negative connotations involved in good old boy club or whatever, but honestly, just a salt of the earth person who really represents his community. I don't know how long he's lived. He might be a lifelong Sedgwick resident, but to have somebody like that in that position in your community is worth everything.
Absolutely,
everything in the world.
Brian is he's a thinker. I mean, and he doesn't just act off of a whim. It's thoughts. You know, prayer, because I know for a fact that he prays, and you know, he makes the best decision at the time with the information that he has, and I just kudos to him and kudos to the city because it's grown. I mean, exceptionally well under his leadership.
Very cool. Very cool. And that gets to be his legacy one day.
Yes.
You know, because he's not done yet, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I think, you know, we keep telling him to retire, but, you know, I think he doesn't want to retire because that means he has to stop. And he just can't sit still.
He's not ready to stop giving everything he's got to his community.
That's correct.
Well, we're not interviewing him today.
I know. I apologize.
Myself included. We got up on a note of mutual friend and very, very nice. Very good man. Very good man. Okay, so, you know, obviously the reason why I had you out here, it has a lot to do with your directorship of the Community Chaplain Response Team. So if you would please, just for the audience who may not know, give a brief just synopsis of what is the Community Chaplain Response Team, also known as CCRT, and if you can just give a little bit of history on that, maybe where it came from, and then how you became the director of that organization.
You know, it was formed by Sheriff T. Walton and Jason Reynolds, who was a chaplain. He was a jail deputy as well. And so they had a vision where in a disaster, man-made or otherwise, that the Corps of Chaplains would go out and respond to the first responders. They would, you know, feed them. They would make sure they had enough protein and enough fatty stuff, you know, and then they offered that spiritual side because, you know, as a first responder, when you're in the middle of a disaster, you're really not, I mean, you're kind of in a mode, and it's not that we don't want to visit, you know, it's the fact that we're concerned to make sure our first responders stay healthy so that they can do the disaster relief program. So Jason and Chief Walton put it together. There's we have people that are on our board, by the way. Sheriff Gay is the president of our board.
Awesome.
And, as time went through, they developed a suicide intervention prevention through education program.
Okay.
And Jason and Rowena, everybody calls her Ron, Schroeder, they really had that passion for the suicide aspect of it. So they would go out and do, discussions throughout the community about, the effects of suicide or the ideologies that it often comes with it. And so they started back 14 years ago, the first annual softball tournament to be with the victims as well as the families of those victims, of suicide. And so you had the disaster relief piece serving the first responders. Then you had that suicide intervention prevention through education. Well, Jason took it a little further, and so he seen that there was two people that were doing peer mentoring, and they were certified by the state. And during that time, he wanted to bring them underneath the CCRT umbrella, and through that, they did a fantastic job. A lot of lives were changed, and it was just a time where there was growth. Yeah. And so after that, about June of 20, one of the lead mentor was wanting to retire. He had put in his time, and he was just looking to, just enjoy life. He's still doing well today. Then the other person, and I don't mind saying their names. They're great individuals.
Yeah, send them a shout out.
Stan and Kavette Dake.
Okay.
Both of them did very, very, very good jobs. I still have people that are in recovery because of what Stan and Kavette did. Yeah. And that is a props because, hopefully they become clients, but then as you work through, eventually you would like for them to be peer mentors and help you do the same. Well, so that's where I kind of came in. So I got with Jason, and Jason and I began to discuss some of the changes he would like to see. And at first, I just wanted to be a mentor. I wanted to learn the ropes of the peer mentor aspect of it, and bring more kind of an administrative role to that, to where it was a little bit more clear and crisp to what we were doing. Okay. And so as time moved on and it continued to grow, God just brought the right people at the right time. And the peer mentor program, what we see today, came from that. So Stan and Kavette laid the foundation, and we began to, from there, build it up to where it's become very successful. Yeah.
Okay, walking it back a little bit.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that what you had said was initially when this group began to reach out, it had to do with suicide awareness and prevention.
Yeah.
I know I've read statistics that are just staggering about our military personnel who have a disproportionately high rate of suicide or taking their own life. Yeah. And there is a lot of reasoning behind that, and they do say that it has to do with the trauma that they had experienced and then was not necessarily treated with the kind of respect that it needed to be treated with to be able to get help for those individuals, nor in that kind of environment is it good to show that you're struggling, obviously, because for most purposes it's a very strong, you want to be strong. So not saying that the military and law enforcement are so parallel, but just with the type of things that are dealt with day to day by law enforcement officers, that I'm sure there's a statistic that we would just be disappointed to see when it comes to law enforcement. So with that, I'm kind of painting this picture in my own head, not putting words in your mouth, but walking down this path with you. It's then we reach out and we realize this is an issue. Obviously, the goal is to support law enforcement, be first responders for first responders.
Yes.
So then mental health comes into that. From there, then it becomes an outreach to the community, awareness. No life lost to suicide is a life that we wanted to lose, right? Because there's just a lot that goes with that. So then traveling down this road, it turned into developing into a mentorship program.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you covered exactly what individuals were being targeted for this mentorship program, because now we've transitioned from not only servicing the needs of for being first responders to first responders, right? But then to outreach in a way in which you're trying to mentor and nurture people. You did mention recovery, so I'm assuming that it has something to do with the potential for self-harm through drug usage, which is just another avenue that probably leads to suicide or prevention of suicide. So because that's just long suicide. We have short and we have long. If you're doing something that like drug usage or things that are self-harming, there's a deterioration that takes place with that, and you're just taking the long pill rather than the short one, right? Anything I said would be not accurate, or because I do not, I just went on a tangent there, LA, but I don't want to paint a picture that you don't want painted based upon my own assumption of what I hear you saying.
Sure. No, I think, what we're learning through the substance abuse disorder is that a lot of them started using, whatever the drug of choice it may be, whether it be meth or heroin, fentanyl, whatever, because they have had some type of a trauma back when younger. And through that trauma, they're looking for ways to just deal with it, and they didn't really have a strong trust of the mental health, because a lot of people down the mental health profession, and I will tell you, without the mental health professionals, it is crucial that we work with the substance abuse disorder and we work with our mental health, because truly they go hand in hand. Once you start figuring out and talking to people, you'll find out that the reason why they started was simply because something that happened to them either as a child growing up or within some type of it could have been a car accident, but it involved drinking, and so one of the saddest stories I hear, and I'll go up first and then I'm going to drop back. Okay.
How about it?
One of the saddest stories that I probably have heard in a long time, we had a young lady that she didn't have much of a chance. She, law enforcement knew her. Me and you sitting here. What they did not know, though, is that she started using meth at the age of 8 or 9 years old, because her mom made her shoot up at the age of 8 or 9. So here she is now in her late 30s, and it broke my heart once we found out the full story. Then we go, oh my gosh, this young lady never had an opportunity to enjoy what being a child was like, being what a teenager was like. It was always surrounded by narcotics. And so I have a team. Even today, I have a team of people that work. And what we do, if you don't mind me just sliding into that.
Have at it.
Okay, good. So what we do in our peer mentor program is that we have two people that go into the Harvey County Jail, obviously with the permission of the sheriff. And our two mentors interview and do an intake on those people that want help to get away from the drugs. They want to get away, and realistically, I would say 95% of them, they're genuine. It's not just they want to get out of jail and go to treatment. No, they're serious. They have ran that drug line so long they've been given so much Narcan so long, and they know their time is short. And so we're seeing them really say, hey, I need help. And that's exactly what my team does. They go in, they do an intake on them. We get them set up with a person that does drug evaluations. And we have community partners all throughout the community. And without those partnerships, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. Successful like through, Mirror, Prairie View, our judicial system, different attorneys throughout the greater Wichita, Newton area and McPherson area. So we have these strong relationships with these folks to where we can go in, get that information, and then what we do is we talk with the attorneys, and they talk to the prosecuting attorney and say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. And after they attend that 28-day drug rehab, they have a choice to go into reintegration, where they will learn an additional 30 to 45 days of more tools that will help them navigate. And then what we do is our team, them, and you're part of our team because you do all the fun stuff, this media stuff that I don't get into. But so we surround them, and then we start making out plans and goals, and trying to help them reintegrate into a community. And sometimes it's not Newton. Sometimes they want to get out of the Newton area because they've either born here and they realize that it's going to be a struggle for them because everybody knows them. So sometimes, we reintegrate them into other communities. And right now we have such a positive force going on where we're seeing so much success, Lance, that's it's literally, it's kind of blown me away. But after that, we just say, okay, how else can we help? So we have a peer group on Monday nights. We have a peer group on Wednesday nights. And that's where the peers will come, and they get the opportunity, Lance, to be able to share with other peers their struggles. And, we have people that's long-term recovery, 14 years, 18 years, 5 years, all the way down to just 2 years. And that really is valuable.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Lane, man, I don't know what it is, but you're sending me back to a time in my own life, when I was somebody that was just looking for love and acceptance, and I just wasn't getting that. Made some choices when I was a young adult that led me into a life of addiction, which just birthed, death. Yeah. I mean, honestly, and I made it out, and I made it out, and there are people that make it out, and you had said something, and it just struck my heart, and I think it's probably because I just have a heart for people, because I was there, I was somebody who was lost and hurting. And I just believe in what you do, LA. And, I think a lot of times, it's very easy to depersonalize people, and not know like the story that you talked about. I mean, how oftentimes do people in society just, look at somebody that's in their worst state and capture that moment, and they become a thing rather than a human being, and then to consider that there's a story behind that. And I don't think anybody in that situation wants to be in that situation. They just can't see their way out, and they don't have the tools that it takes to find their way out of the darkness. And I know what you're talking about, man. It just took people to love me and to nurture me, to care for me, and then to teach me and provide me the tools that I just had always been missing.
Yeah.
That's what you guys do.
And the wonderful to put the icing on the cake, your local law enforcement out there, they are referring clients to us. What does that tell you? That tells me that these officers out there, I know that we can be difficult. I know 32 years I spent as a law enforcement officer, okay? But I promise you this, they are referring people to us all the time. And some of them are long-term people that that they've arrested, and law enforcement says, hey, there's a group out there that can help you, and this is the group, Community Chaplain Response Team. And so our team of mentors just, work with law enforcement, and it's been so refreshing because, people don't realize that they're the front line. And because of the front line, they see these folks over and over and over. So I want to encourage the Harvey County community that your law enforcement are referring people to get help, and realistically, those people are in recovery. I mean, I wish I'd have brought our stats with me. I could tell you time and time again. Our recidivism rate to the jail, and that recidivism, that's one of the things that we focus on.
Yeah.
That recidivism, that repeat business, sorry about that repeat business, we're seeing less and less of that. Yeah. And that warms the heart.
That's
so
encouraging.
You look at the, Community Chaplain Response Team on the whole, we have a disaster relief program. We have that peer mentor program, and we have that suicide intervention. I am a suicide survivor. From a very dark place in 1998 was a very dark time to me, and for God to save me the way He did. Maybe on another show I can talk to you and reach out to the people, because you can survive, but look at me. Don't do it the way I did. I'm here because God has allowed me to be here, and I shouldn't be. But you know what? It's been through love and grace and family, and if it wasn't for my wife, my 30-year-old son, and my 5-year-old grandson that will be 6 in August, who knows? I might not be here. Yeah. So I'm humbled. I can I tell a fun fact?
Yeah. Before you do, I just want to say something too. You mentioned some dates, and I would just have to say that, interestingly enough, the both of us were going through some of the darkest times in our life in 1998, 99, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had totally different ages and totally different lifestyles and totally different backgrounds, but,
isn't that crazy how that is brought together? One of the things that we loved about you, Lance, is you have a heart of gold. Your integrity is amazing.
Some might not say that.
I know that. The reason why I'm saying it, because I want them to understand that I have worked with a lot of people. I'm going to try not to cry. I have worked with a lot of people that has been down some very dark roads. And I will tell you, Lance, you have been like a booster shot. It's like you love life, you love your wife, you love your kids, you love your, and now you're trying to make an impact in our county, which is such a needed thing. So my hat goes off to you, my friend, because you know what? You could have followed that same road and you didn't. And I am so glad that we are friends. Yeah. I am so glad that you're a part of our team. Don't you ever leave me. But 1998 was a very dark time for me. It was.
Yeah. But it's all about giving back, Elway.
It is.
And none of us are perfect. I mean, I'll probably continue to mess up somewhere here or next, or say something I shouldn't say, here or there or the other. But, I think what a lot of people don't understand is that the way out of the darkness is to show love to others.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you just do whatever you can to try to make somebody else's life better.
And that's it. I think that's the key.
All right, we got to quit getting emotional on the program.
I know. I'm trying not to. I'm trying. I was holding back the tears.
Okay, yeah. We got to move on here.
Okay, we're gonna be men right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say nice things about me. It might hurt my feelings.
But
when people say nice things, it makes me want to.
I know, right?
When it makes them say mean things, it just makes me want to laugh.
Right. And I guess I want to share. I guess for me. If anybody's ever contemplating suicide, or having thoughts, or, you're right there where I was and you had a gun in your mouth or you're taking pills or whatever, if I can say anything to you, stop, listen to this podcast, stop, because there is someone out there that loves you, that cares for you, that has died for you, and that person is Jesus Christ. And I will tell you, once you get a hold of that, it's through those times it brought me through the darkest times. God
is love.
Yeah, He is, and you know what's so awesome? He looks on the inside. He doesn't look at us on the outside. And I'm glad, because if people just saw us on the outside all the time, people would say, who knows what they would say. But if we're letting God's light shine, completely through, then I think that's what He wants us to do.
Yeah. KLA, we're coming to the end.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen a program or two before, and what I do is always give the guest that's here, the last word to speak directly to the hearts and minds of anybody listening. So what do you got for us, LA?
I would like to say this. If you ever thought about being a mentor or working in disaster relief or helping out with suicide prevention intervention through education, I would encourage you, please contact us. We're always looking for good people that just want to serve. We're not really interested in, your background necessarily. You could have, you could have all the accolades on a board. But I'm looking for that one that has the heart, that wants to serve law enforcement and first responders, firefighters, our EMS. I want them to know that not only do we serve them, but we also serve the citizens in those disasters as well. Please contact us. May I give our phone number?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Or contact me at 316-416-1065. Of course, thank the Lord I got Lance on board. Please contact our Facebook page. Yep. Instagram, however you know how to reach us. Lance is the one that him and Julie Hendricks are the two people that bounce things off of each other. So please contact us, because you don't have to hurt alone.
Yeah.
You could be lifted up with people that have been through with what you're going through, whether that be drugs, whether that be alcoholism, whether that be suicide, or you just have a heart to serve your community. Please call.
And LA, I think this might be one for the books.
Oh,
I love you, man.
Love you too,
I
Lance.
appreciate you. I truly appreciate you and everything you do, LA. And I never thought I'd find myself in some way or another, or even really knew it was an option to serve in this way. And I know you guys found a role for me, and I'm giving you the best of what I can for what I'm doing for y'all.
It is the best. I got the best for the best.
Thanks, LA.
So I love you.
Yeah.
Please keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Please.
We'll do it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, LA.
Thank you, sir.
Well, there you have it, folks, and thanks for listening to this episode of Harvey County Talk. I was your host, Lance Gormley, and our guest on the program today was Larry L.A. Alexander, the director of the Community Chaplain Response Team, also known as CCRT, here in Harvey County. Thank you, LA.
Thank you.